Hey yo, what's up YouTube man? It's your boy Ashton Jackson, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the two newly signed Dallas Cowboys and what they can potentially bring to the Dallas Cowboys. So before we hop into the video, I appreciate if you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. So hopping straight into it, my opinion on the two guys are however you felt about Cavonte Turpin and Brandon Aubrey when they got signed around this time in each of their respective years. So when we first signed Cavonte Turpin in 2022, I viewed him mainly as a cam body. Once I saw that he won the USFL MVP and saw that he was one of the best returners in the game, I liked what I was hearing. But then once I saw what he was able to do in camp, and then he easily stole the show and easily stamped his mark on the roster that very first preseason game that he had versus the LA Chargers, where he had 2 special team touchdowns, and that's all what it really needed to do for him to eventually not play another preseason game. But from that point on, he was automatically a guy that made us the roster. It was automatically going to be a guy that made the 53. We were all hyped up about that pick, right? And that pickup, from the USFL. So we were really happy that, he turned out to be somebody. Then fast forward to the next year, 2023, we signed a kicker in Brandon Aubrey. He ends up being one of the most accurate kickers, they said, in the USFL. He turns out he balls out. He does a really good thing. And then Aubrey, he comes in 2023. Didn't want him on the team, I viewed him. I was like, I want Mason Crosby. I wanted Robbie Gould. There was like a ton of other kickers I was wanting over Brandon Aubrey. Who knows? Brandon Aubrey comes in. He's your most accurate kicker as a rookie, and he's an all-pro kicker for you. And if he doesn't get the yips, he's going to be your next Dan Bailey, that next kicker that you have for the next 10 to 15 years. That's super accurate, that can kick. He can kick 60-yarders, 50-yarders, 40-yarders, 30-yarders in accuracy. This isn't like Brett Maher, who was going to shank extra points, was going to miss 20 to 50, but anything from the 55 on back, 60-yarders, he would make them. Such a backwards kicker. But again, the 2 players that we did sign was a linebacker named Willie Harvey. He planned to sign with the Cowboys. A person familiar with the situation said he led the UFL with 76 tackles in 2024, including a second-best 9 tackles for loss. The Dallas area resident played for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So again, a Dallas kid, he grew up in the area. Dallas Cowboys, again, when they're trying out for players, they can mainly scout for the people that have lived or have lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or just the Texas area in general. They're able to bring them in for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're able to work them out, everything of that nature. Again, I really like the 76 tackles that I was hearing. And you think about also the second best in the league for 9 tackles for loss. So that means he's getting active behind the line of scrimmage. If he can add to our linebacking room with Kendricks, Overshown, Damone Clark, Maurice Lufau, if this can be another guy that we can just add to our linebacking room, and he's just a solid vet for you, he brings something on special teams wise, and when the linebacker gets hurt or when he's rotated in, can he do his part? Can he fill in run lanes and everything like that? We'll see. I understand the Dallas Cowboys still have to sign more players, so I already understand that a lot of you guys are going to be upset that the players that we signed wasn't a running back or a defensive tackle, but still adding depth to linebacker position is still really good, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. And we'll see about Willie Harvey. Again, so far we're 2 for 2 when it comes to signing these USFL or UXFL players. So, if we're able to at least hit on one of these 2 players that we signed and they're able to contribute to the roster, that's really great. Again, that means the Dallas Cowboys are doing a great thing by scouting and doing what they're supposed to do. You wish that they can hit on more of the draft picks than they do some of these guys that are picked up off the street. But, it is what it is. Hopefully Willie Harvey can officially stay in the league. And even if it isn't with the Dallas Cowboys, it's with another team, and he, like the Titans or the Cardinals, and he figures it out, and he ends up able to carve himself out a nice 5 to 8 year career because he started with the Dallas Cowboys, shined, but other linebackers for the Dallas Cowboys shined brighter than he did, and he finds him another opportunity somewhere else. But hopefully it can work out here, right? But I'm kind of intrigued about, not necessarily saying that he's going to come in and do a really great job, or he's going to be that next Brandon Aubrey or Kevontae Turpin who's going to come in and be an impact starter for you, or a guy that can just make impact on your team. And that is cornerback Gareon Conley. The Raiders drafted Conley in 2017 in the first round, and that was when they were still in Oakland. Paul Gunther, the Dallas defensive run game coordinator, was his DC in Oakland from 2018 to 2019. You know, a lot of different personalities that the Raiders had to deal with in that span. You know, that very first year, you had John Gruden, and then you had Max Crosby. He wasn't a problem, but, you know, I'm just saying what those cycle of players that were going in, right? Then you had 2018, you had Antonio Brown. You know how he was a headache for the Raiders. So, hopefully you want Gareon Conley to pan out, honestly, for your Dallas Cowboy, just because, you know, Trevon Diggs is coming off an ACL injury, and I'm very skeptical about ACL injuries, especially when it comes to my team. I know for other teams, if you tear an ACL in San Francisco or the Raiders or the Chiefs or the Eagles, you'll be fine the very next year. But for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't really feel too confident in us having a guy that just came off an ACL injury and then he come automatically be himself. I feel a little bit more confident in Trevon Diggs, but again, what happens if he isn't ready for the first couple of weeks? Having a guy like a former first-round pick in Gareon Conley coming out of Ohio State, and if he can bring you something along with DeRon Bland, Jordan Lewis, Kalen Carson, and then next, what's the corner that we drafted last year in the 6th round out of Southeast Missouri? I forgot. Eric Scott. If Eric Scott pans out to be something, and then you can add Gareon Conley, well, opposite of C.J. Goodwin, or if Gareon Conley can come in and be a really great cover corner, where let's say one of our cornerbacks have a concussion protocol and we need Gareon Conley to step in for a few snaps, and he does a really great job in a game, and he shuts down one of those wide receiver 2s or wide receiver 3s in the league. He does a really good job on the outside, and he doesn't get burnt. That's going to be a guy that we have for the next at least 3 to 4 years, you know. And if he turns out to be really good, who really knows, right? We can trade him. I understand that if he does play good, and how toxic this fan base can be, that if he does play really good, and let's say DeRon Bland or Trevon Diggs have an off night, you can automatically hear those guys saying trade or cut Trevon Diggs or DeRon Bland, some of your 2 all-pro corners, for a guy like Gareon Conley who was signed off the street out of the UXFL, and he comes in, he does a really good job. I can automatically see certain Cowboy fans saying how they want some of your all-pros and your Pro Bowl players and your interception leaders in NFL history to get cut over a guy like Gareon Conley if he pans out and he turns out to be a really great guy. Again, the things about these players is that they're very low risk, high reward. So if they come in and they add something to your team, great. If they don't pan out and they don't add anything to your team, you just cut them and you move on. You cut your ties and you move on. That's really it. Again, I mean, same thing went for the other 2 players. You know, if Brandon Aubrey ended up not being a good kicker, if he was an inconsistent kicker, we cut him, we cut our ties. We're probably in kicker hell right now looking for a kicker, but if he didn't pan out, he didn't pan out. Same thing with Kevontae Turpin. If he didn't pan out, he didn't pan out. We let him go. We're not signing these guys to multi-year deals. We're not giving them a lot of cap space. We're not giving up a whole lot of cap space to keep these guys around. So again, hopefully these guys can add something. If we can go again if we can hit on these 2 players and we're 4 for 4 on USFL players, that's really good for the Dallas Cowboys. If we hit on one of the 2, if let's say we hit on the linebacker, he ends up being a really good guy, but Gareon Conley will end up cutting, great. If Gareon Conley ends up being a really good corner and he finds himself and he comes into the league and he carves himself out another 5 to 10 year career, great for him. I'm proud for him and his family. So again, that's better for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.